Hello and welcome back to episode 12, I think it is, of the Football Talk podcast. Josh, are you there?
I am here loud and clear.
Excellent, you are very loud and clear. It's very, very good. From the offset, I'll apologise for the audio in the last episode where we put it out. Some things went a bit wrong with my computer this time. So lots of technical faults happening all around the world with PCs. But we'll start, as ever. Josh, week in football. Has anything happened for you this week in football?
What have we done this week? I watched the Liverpool Palace game. That was reasonably enjoyable. Liverpool showing that they can do what they can do. They've stepped up to mark. We'll talk about that a bit later. Watched a bit more of the Man City documentary, the All or Nothing.
Yeah, how are you finding
that? That's good. It's behind the scenes of the kind of a big Premier League football club. It's something you don't really get to see in much detail. I can't really think of much. You see tidbits on like YouTube channels where they do a bit of like kind of like few minute videos, but to see something actually in full and kind of seeing it all go is very interesting. So that it's been quite enjoyable. But played no football this week. But yeah, so much more of a viewing side of things this week. What about you?
Not very much, actually. Our game on Sunday was, I think I mentioned it last week, because it was postponed, so didn't have a chance to nail in that. I can't play midweek because I'll be flying back to the UK when the game's going ahead, so I think that's a pretty valid reason.
Maybe international jet setter.
Yeah. Other than that, I imagine my football week will be generally revolved around kicking a ball around in the garden with my niece and nephew, which will be lovely.
Oh, nice.
in its own little right. So other than that, not very much. I managed to catch up on the highlights. I watched Man Utd v Brighton, which was, we've got a segment about that later. So we'll leave it there, shall we? Let's just say my footballing viewing wasn't much fun, to be honest. But yeah, I think in the week of football, it's been quite quiet for both of us generally on the actual doing of things. Obviously, like you say, we've watched quite a bit, and we've been talking about it again quite a lot. But I mean, so with that, as we haven't got much more to talk about, should we go in and chat about a review of again what's sort of happened in the Premiership so far, and review and previewing what's coming up? So lead the way, son. Lead the way.
Well, yeah, so I mentioned it a bit earlier, the Monday night football, which is always an enjoyable watch. Don't know if you catch out in Singapore, because that's one of the Sky's better showings of it. The Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher debate things and review elements of the week. It's quite impressive. So
I miss it. I do miss it. Monday Night Football is one of my big misses, because I actually used to watch the whole thing. So I used to watch when they did where they did they started at like 7 o'clock in the evening or something, and then went through all the previous games, and then it was the game, and then they did a review of a hot topic or something. We don't get that in Singapore, and the game is so late at night that it's like 4 o'clock in the morning here. So the chances of me ever seeing a Monday night game are quite slim. But I have caught up with the Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, Unai Emery discussion, which I thought was really cool. That was a really good chat.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
So
I did like Gary Neville's put down of Sam Allardyce. Did you see that bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Allardyce has been a bit outspoken recently about certain things. He's like, Gary's like, you're not just getting 8 points from 5 games to stay clear from relegation. You're trying to build a side to win the league. It's like, boom, have Allardyce.
Have that, Sam. Have that, big Sam. Yeah, I enjoyed that, and I think, everything, just while we're talking about the Monday Night Football, I think everything that Jamie Carragher, the whole spitting incident, he obviously got riled up by some fans, and he shouldn't have done it anyway. But I'm not condoning it, and Sky would have been in their full rights to sack him, but they are such a good partnership together, Jamie and Gary, and they don't hold back. And I think if it was off air, there'd be a lot more swearing involved. Gary Neville ended the argument by saying Jamie Carragher's prehistoric.
And it's funny to see that, in watching Gary Neville's soccer box, you see how kind of much hatred there was between the two of them on the pitch. You're literally just kind of like, and just like the animosity between them. It was just like, and then now it shows that how different. Like clearly fans can hate players when they're on the pitch, but they're very different people off it. So don't necessarily maybe hold back on the kind of the Twitter hate and social media hate for players, because they're different people when they're on the pitch when they're being super competitive.
That's true. That's a very good point to raise, actually. That we only ever see them on the pitch. We only see them in that passionate, riled up, testosterone-filled situation. And I think it is the Jamie Carragher incident showed they slip back into that at times in the outside world, as it were, in the real world. But there's a lot. We only get a one-dimensional view of them in their actual profession and their sport and their living and what they're doing, and it's an all winning is all, isn't it? In that environment that they're in.
It's an all-encompassing kind of thing where they're just focused on that. They're not trying to be your best mate and trying to be and doing whatever. Everybody always in life you display different characteristics in different scenarios, and this is a very heated one. So you see the best and worst parts of people in those situations.
Exactly. But anyway, we've gone a bit off topic from what we were going to talk about. But did you have any comments on the Liverpool Crystal Palace game? Anything stand out for you? Or
I suppose it's a game where people go, "Oh, this is kind of." Can Liverpool do this? And this through. They played pretty well. They didn't. I thought. Two strikers. Didn't really perform. So Salah had a few chances. His touch seemed well off.
Yeah.
And didn't really look like scoring too much. I mean, at the other end, there's a player who I'm not sure will ever score a goal again. Is Benteke. I mean, Hodgson's kind of put his faith in him and just playing him, but it's not paying off at the moment.
It's tough to watch, isn't it? It's tough to watch. It's really like you never like to see someone struggle that much, and he could have been he still can be if he gets that form, but you just think like you could be so much more. You could be like a Lukaku sort of player if you just had that confidence and the ability to finish chances. But
that time of his when he was Aston Villa and. You thought coming up against Virgil van Dijk, probably two of the most potent people in the league. You thought, if Benteke on form will just be an actual good challenge for it, but it was just like, he's just a shadow of his former self. And but I haven't really got too much else. I mean, I've got an early fact for you this week.
Oh, go for it.
So they could go with Jordan Ayew up front. I've signed him, but do you know that Jordan Ayew's last 4 clubs? I don't know if do you want to have a go at this? Do you want to have a little dabble? Or
West Ham, Swansea.
No.
They're both in there.
Not West Ham.
No?
No, Swansea, yes.
Oh, was it the other Ayew that went to West Ham?
Yeah, the other Ayew, West Ham, yeah.
Swansea, Marseille?
I'm not going to get
it.
Dave.
To go for it.
So, Swansea.
Yeah.
Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Lorient and Sochaux.
Okay.
Have in common?
No, they've all been relegated.
Yep. All his last 4 clubs have been relegated.
Oh my God. He's like modern day Nigel Quasi.
He is modern day Nigel Quasi, yeah. And so I would be a little bit wary if I was a Palace fan that he may inflict the same upon you.
Okay, interesting. Now, going back to Christian Benteke very quickly, I've read an article on Football 365 actually last night when I got in from dinner, and do you know it was all about the top 6's most expensive 11s ever, right?
Okay.
And out of everybody Liverpool have bought in the world of football since prices have been rising, their front 2 most expensive strikers are Andy Carroll and Christian Benteke.
Oh my!
I know, yeah. I mean that does
pump the ball long.
it's a 4-4-2, and they've put Mo Salah at right wing. But yeah, Andy Carroll and Christian Benteke are Liverpool's most ever out and out strikers. That is ridiculous.
And I remember when they signed Benteke, I was like, he's not too different to Andy Carroll. I don't know what you're expecting there because he's not technically gifted. He's very good in the air. You put a ball in the box, he'll be able to challenge for it. But they're not too dissimilar as players. And Liverpool fans are like, no, he still do great. It's like, I mean, he scored some belters out overhead kick. One of them
against United. Against United, yeah.
Yeah, against United, yeah. But yeah, few and far between those happy memories.
Yeah. While we're on it, do you know who's Tottenham most expensive striker is?
Most expensive striker?
Ever, yeah. Out and out striker.
Soldado?
It is Roberto Soldado, yeah.
then it was like Vincent Janssen, and it's like, wow, we know how to really ruin strikers, then send them off to Fenerbahce.
Yeah, very true.
As a
Very
kind of,
true.
as a kind of recuperation, restoration of it, just go to the Fenerbahce spa after your failed stint at Tottenham and
Yeah.
never find form again. Actually.
Yeah, it's like a recovery unit where they don't recover; they just get a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Just tide them over. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch the game on Monday night. I didn't see it. It was because the stats seem to suggest that Liverpool dominated the game as you'd expect, but they were only 1-0 up through a penalty, and then the red card, and they scored in the 93rd minute. So was it comfortable for Liverpool, or was it?
It was pretty comfortable. No, it was pretty comfortable for them. And one thing I'd say about Palace's lineup: Palace lined up like how I used to line up a Pro Evo side. I used to put as much pace in as I could.
Yeah.
So they have like Van Arnholt at left back. They have Wan-Bissaka at right back. They have Townsend and Schlupp on the wings. They have Zaha and Benteke up front. It's like, blimey, you just go for it. It's just running.
That is incredible, yeah. I'm looking at the lineup now, and that is to think that they've got Van Arnholt, Schlupp, and Zaha all in the same team, and Townsend, who at one point in their career have all played left wing. That's quite impressive.
Yeah. It's like Guardiola likes to get centre mids in there. Evidently, Roy Hodgson likes to get left wingers in there.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, anything else from the weekend? So Liverpool had a pretty comfortable win. I mean, we will save the Man United result for the second part of the pod.
We kind of discussed Saturday's matches last one. So we have a couple matches on Sunday. We had Burnley losing at home to Watford.
Surprised.
So Burnley already suffering a bit of Europa League fatigue.
Yeah, that really surprised me, that result. I wasn't expecting that. And I know last week, in the last episode, you did quite a few shout-outs through the show of things that you were impressed with. A shout-out for Doucouré's pass, I think it's for the second goal, where he has... Deeney has a shot from range. Yeah, he has a shot from range. The ball falls to Doucouré. I mean, it's a great run from Deeney to carry on his run forward. But the pass from Doucouré was unbelievable. Like, through a crowd of players. Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And it's funny when you look at it, it's like, it's really kind of pronounced kind of action, and it's like, ooh. It's kind of like, oh, I'm not shit, boo. That's like kind of, I imagine that's how the noise he made. It's like, boo. And it just puts it through. It's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, bloody hell, yeah. I mean, it was that was my shout. It was delightful. And that was, it surprised me. I thought Burnley, they're renowned for their solid defending, and Watford just sort of took the piss. And Watford had Andre Gray and Deeney up front, who you can't really say are prolific. So
no, but they wreaked havoc, and Andre obviously a former Burnley player. Nice. I haven't seen the slow-mo of it because it just looks a little. Andre Gray's goal looks a little bit off. I can't like his touch where he connects with it. Haven't seen the slow-mo where he actually connects. If it's on his foot.
I think it's that sort of. It looked like the joint, like the sort of. It comes off his joint. It didn't look clean.
Which joint, Dave? He's got a few in his body. Is it his ankle?
Yeah. Sorry, his foot and ankle joint. Yeah,
right,
it definitely didn't look clean, but I haven't seen it. Like you say, I haven't seen it in slow mo. And then the other game on the Sunday was Manchester City showing that they're Manchester City still. Because we were obviously recording or just before that game started. I think we are recording into it.
We just had an Aguero goal.
Yeah.
I mean,
so 6-1.
Yeah, and I'd have a shout out for summer signing Ben Hamer.
Oh yeah.
And he had an absolute shocker.
I mean,
wow.
You can look at it in two different ways, really. Yeah, I mean, he definitely had a shocker. But is it good to have a shocker against Man City because you're probably going to lose anyway and get it out of the way? Or would you rather him have an outstanding game against City and then probably lose 2-1? And it's sort of like...
I think you could probably rationalise it a bit more. Where like the manager has an easier job going, look, it's Man City. It was never going to be easy. A few mistakes there, but it wasn't a game that we really felt we were going to be able to win overall. So it's not like you've lost the team a game. You may have been at fault for 3-4 goals, yes, but still a couple more that went in.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
I mean, some of his
he did not.
He didn't have a good game. Yeah, some of his mistakes were pretty bad.
I suppose what also goes through, because we had the fantastic situation, which I think some fans will be surprised as a ruling, is that you can't be offside from a goal kick.
Yeah.
And so I think some people are still getting kind of like, oh. And do you know what surprises me? There's been Sam Allardyce sides in the past who've had keepers who can kick it long, like a Blackburn side with Paul Robinson, who can kick the ball a distance.
Well,
and it never really
scored a
got
goal.
used. It's only scored a goal against Watford, yeah. And it's never really been utilised, is it? Like, this is the first time you can feel it's been a utilisation of that ruling.
I agree. I've always wondered why, how far goalkeepers can kick it nowadays. I've always wondered why they don't just leave. Like, it would have been prime for someone like Van Nistelrooy or an Aguero or Gabriel Jesus nowadays. Just leave him right up on the edge of the area, the opposition area, and force them to be really deep, and that allows you to play it out from the back, if that's what you want to do.
Yep.
And if they don't mark him up, then just boot it. Boot it as far as you can as the goalkeeper.
You've got loads of space between the lines because you separate defence, midfield or attack. If they have to leave some people up, they're going to have some massive gaps everywhere, aren't they? Because they've had to drop something.
Exactly. Because on chatting about Ben Hamer having a bit of a torrid time, like, it was I find it odd that he's their starting goalkeeper this season, because they've bought him from Leicester and he didn't really feature for Leicester. I think it was 4 or 5 games maximum last year when he was covering Schmeichel from injury. And then he's been on loan a couple of times. He was on loan in Bristol City, actually, when I was down in Bristol, and didn't play very much for Bristol City. So it's just one of those that is that going to be a problem area for Huddersfield going forward? Should they have recruited better? Should that have been a focus of it? I don't know. Did they have Danny Ward last year?
I thought that was a weak spot for them last year. Loso, I thought.
Oh yeah,
he was a player who could make good saves, but he also made a few mistakes. His kicking was poor. He was poor against when we played them. And so I thought it was definitely a place that they needed to strengthen, but yeah, not with Ben Hamer. I didn't see that as a massive upgrade.
I agree. If anything, it disrupts the team, because they would have been used to playing with Lossell at the back for a whole season in the Premier League. At least the defenders would have known what it was about. But I guess, we don't see them in training. It's the common thing of, how's he getting picked? Well, the manager's the person that sees him every day at training. He'll be the person that's saying he's better than the other candidates in his position. So I guess Wagner is seeing something in him that makes him better than Lossell and more consistent than Lossell. Yeah. But yeah, it's hard to say.
We'll see how shaken he is after that showing, and see if he can maintain any element of form, and or if he's totally shaken, he has another shocker at the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And while we're talking about goalkeepers, what's your opinion on Cech and Leno? Because I spent some money on Leno in my fantasy football auction with my friends, and he hasn't played a game yet, and it's really annoying me.
I would have felt a little bit sorry for Cech if it immediately been displaced, because although he has been declining in abilities, they've been fading slightly. I think he still has that respect that he's earned. He should be playing, and just because you sign a player doesn't give him an automatic right to come into the side.
No, it doesn't. But you sign that player for a reason.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Absolutely,
isn't it?
yeah.
And that's
it's
and you play him because he's in my fantasy football team. That's the main reason you play him, so I get at least a point.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to get opinion while we're talking about goalkeepers. I thought that was a very good little tangent.
No, I think Cech plays a certain way. He's not a player who's best with the ball with his feet. He's all right. It's not a speciality of his as we saw of the first match of the season, where he almost walked it into his own goal, which would have been majestic.
That would have been
actually on that. One of my favourite own goals was the Huddersfield goal, which just bopped off his head and he just top cornered it. That was like, oh.
Yeah. So while we're on the subject of favourite own goals, Jimmy Traore doing the old Zidane turn into his own net against Burnley in the Carling Cup or something before Burnley were in the Premier League. That was. You
mean
unbelievable?
Jimmy Traore Champions League winner?
I do mean Jimmy Traore Champions League winner. Yeah, but he still has the best own goal I've ever seen. So
yeah, which one's the career highlight for him? Is it the Champions League, or is it having that as a lone goal? We just don't know.
We'll have to get him on the pod. We'll have to get him on and ask him.
Yeah. Good question for him.
Yeah. The only other one that stands out in my mind, and this is more because I always see it on Premier League years when I used to watch it over the summer in between school school years was when Lee Dixon lobbed David Seaman from just inside his own half with a chip. It was an own goal. It was unbelievable. Like, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, so that's...
And it's hard to lob David Seaman, isn't it? It's not an easy...
I've only seen two people do it. Ronaldinho and Lee Dixon. But
Naeem did it.
Oh, Naeem did it, yeah. Naeem did do it in the Super Cup final. That was a great goal. Yeah, whether he meant it or not, but it was a great goal. So, anything else to discuss on that? And do you want to go into previewing what's coming up?
One last thing.
Yeah.
There's been a bit of, Rio Ferdinand did it, and now Alan Shearer's done it. They've kind of jumped on the Aguero's the greatest of all time bandwagon, because Shearer's quote the other day is that Aguero is the greatest foreign player of all time in the Premier League. Sorry.
That's an interesting thing to bring up, actually. I didn't know that that's what Alan Shearer said. I don't think he's the best ever foreign player in the Premier League.
Who is the best foreign player in the Premier League, Dave?
Well, that's very recent. There's probably a better word for it in the English language, but very recent biased is what I would say if you're calling that about Aguero.
Recency bias, yeah.
Recency bias, yeah. The Cantona changed what the Premier League was about. Cantona changed what the Premier League was about.
You look back, he hasn't got the stats to back it up, but he was just the touch of class that drove Ferguson's side to the title and completely changed the face of it. And I agree, he was very impactful. Like,
I would say David Silva has to be up there for how long he's been here and what he's done while he was here. He's been brilliant. I mean, if you're going for stats, someone like... I'm not saying he is the best foreign player ever in the league, but Cesc Fabregas's stats are ridiculous in the Premier League. I was looking at them the other day, and not knowing that you were going to ask me this question, his stats are truly ludicrous. I don't have them to hand, but maybe I'll get them for next week.
Assists?
Yeah, that kind of assists, and in the amount of games he's played in his time in the Premiership, and the fact that he had his peak years what was his peak years when he was out at Barcelona. He's still something like the third highest assister ever in the Premier League, or maybe second behind Ryan Giggs. So I think that's incredible.
I've never been the biggest fan of assist statistics because you're very much reliant on having a good striker in your side, and so he very much benefits from being in sides which have had immense strikers, because a player you haven't named so far, who I think is the greatest foreign Premier League player of all time, is Thierry Henry.
I mean, Thierry Henry is absolutely fantastic. He'd be above Aguero for me, Thierry Henry. That's a great shout. Yeah, it's an absolutely great shout. I think he'd be... Surely Thierry Henry is in everybody's all-time Premier League 11 somewhere, whether it be right wing, left wing, or up front. He's in there somewhere. He's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, he's in mine for sure.
Yeah, he'll be in mine as well. So that's very interesting. Okay, so let's move. I didn't know that, so thank you for raising that to my attention. That Alan Shearer has said Aguero is the best foreign player of all time. I mean, Alan Shearer's an idiot, but yeah. I disagree with Alan Shearer.
He's got become less of an idiot in recent years. When he started punditry, it was like, Alan, add something here, mate. You're literally stating the facts.
Did you see there was when he first started doing his punditry, someone made the Twitter account Alan Shearer's eyes. Literally just repeated common things. It was like, this is how Alan Shearer sees it. It's a goal kick. It was a great Twitter account. It's died off a little bit now because you say Alan Shearer's actually got a bit better. But okay, so moving on to a quick preview of what's coming up.
Okay.
Any standout fixture?
Yeah, we have the first kind of relegation 6-pointer of the season, don't we?
Yeah.
Big match. We have Arsenal versus West Ham. So that is both sides in desperate need of a win.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who is going to get it.
Arsenal are going to smash them. Arsenal will smash them.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I think Arsenal will smash them. Yeah. West Ham have such a deficiency in central midfield. It's unbelievable. Like, they sold their only holding midfielder in Czech Kouyaté. Okay, he didn't play very well last season, but they didn't replace him with a holding midfielder. They've tried Declan Rice in there, who hasn't done well. Jack Wilshere won't do that role, and Mark Noble just sort of stands and shouts at people and then has a go at the referee. They don't have a defensive midfielder in their team, West Ham, and Arsenal will pick them apart, I think.
Mark Noble, I mean, a few years back, West Ham were like, all fans were like, oh God, how's he not got an England cap? Come on, boys. He's absolutely bang average. He really is. I
would argue back then, when he was playing his best football, he was just above average. Now, he shouldn't be in the Premier League, in my opinion. Should not be in a starting central midfield for a Premier League team. He just stands and shouts at people and then argues with the referee. He doesn't bring any technical ability, especially when they've just signed Jack Wilshere. You should surely it was obvious that Jack Wilshere needs someone to be that defensive player behind him.
Yeah. Wilshere and Noble alongside each other like that is going to get torn apart, and quite rightly does. It's not. Those two cannot play as two.
And that's why I think Arsenal are going to win quite convincingly, to be honest. I don't know about any other standout fixtures.
I tell you what is a standout fixture as one of probably the worst match of the season: Huddersfield versus Cardiff.
Yeah,
that is not going to get. Like, you're selling the Premier League abroad, there is going to be minimal people watching that abroad. That's for sure.
That would be an interesting stat to see, the viewership of that game, like percentage-wise. Yeah. What game gets what views percentage-wise abroad? Someone will watch it. Someone will watch it abroad, but
by accident, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the big game is our two teams are playing each other Monday night.
They are.
Yeah, and I'm back in the UK for it, so it could be the only Monday night game I actually get to watch this season, and I probably won't want to tune in. Cause,
you know what? I've got a horrible feeling about this game, but I often do with Spurs.
Yeah, you always do with Spurs.
Yeah. I'm not overly confident about it. I mean, it can go. It is a really massive match. I think more massive, as it were, for Mourinho and United.
I agree.
I mean, it's daily. There's a news article on the BBC or wherever going, "Oh, is this Mourinho's third season downfall?" And it's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, they're trying to get him sacked," and I mean, he's trying himself as well, it seems. But
yeah, we'll save that for after the Wiki Files. Come on.
Yeah, another match I think it's going to be quite a good match of football. Yeah, that one is Wolves versus Man City.
It has the potential to be a good competitive game, but Wolves need to score early. They need to get that confidence and take a chance.
Why would you want to score early against Man City?
Because all Wolves do at the moment is create loads of chances and don't put them in the back of the net and then get punished. So they're going to get punished anyway. So they might as well bloody score.
Yeah. I see. I always, when Spurs were a lesser side, I always feared against scoring against a good side early because it's like, we're just going to come under the cosh. I'd much rather score with the last kick of the game.
But but then
chance for a riposte.
But you're setting yourself up to then be the old, like you're going out with the mentality of we'll stay in it until the last 5 minutes. So what happens if you go out with that mentality and Man City score in the first 5 minutes anyway?
Oh, I mean, it's all gone then, isn't it? But yeah, just because you don't want to rile the beast, do you? You don't want Man City to go, we've got to score now. You want them to be in that sense of we will score, rather than we need to score, because then they'll be like, But I actually have a feeling that Wolves might be able to get something out of this game.
Oh, I'd love it if they do. Love it. I'd love it if Wolves could beat them.
All right, Keegan.
Yeah. Wolves are lacking a clinical, cutting-edge striker, and I think they'll take care of that in January. I still think they'll be totally fine in the league this year, but I would like to see them take something from the game. I think it'll be a tougher test for Man City than they will be expecting. But Guardiola, he's so intricate, isn't he, with his tactics and understanding teams' weaknesses and things like that he'll know where they can pinpoint Wolves and what they can do. And
do you know what I've just realised? I've realised why I have hope for Wolves in this match, because they played each other in the League Cup last year, didn't they? And
they
Wolves held them to a draw and then beat them on penalties.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And there was that massive hoo-ha around because City were saying they were unbeaten still, and are you unbeaten if you lose on penalties but you draw them in 90 minutes?
Yeah.
That was the argument.
That's very true. Yeah, it should be a good game. Hopefully, it'll be as entertaining as that cup game was, because that was very good for an early kickoff as well. You always hope for an early kickoff to be entertaining and set the tone for the weekend.
Yeah, and then the late kickoff they've got on Saturday is quite good as well. Liverpool-Brighton, because Brighton, I mean, they can beat some very good sides. They play some. They're quite well suited to play against better sides because they give a bit more space to play sometimes, and so I think it could be a good game as well. But I think Liverpool will do what United couldn't do. Yeah,
well, Liverpool will press them high and play with energy. I bet we'll come on to that in a minute.
Yeah.
If you hadn't have guessed, the second part of the episode is going to be possibly me ranting at Josh about Man United.
Yeah,
with
I'm
Josh,
just gonna have a
with
little
Josh
nap
in-
and
yeah,
let
yeah.
Dave just crack on.
The only other game that sticks out for me in the weekend for probably all the wrong reasons in football is Southampton Leicester, because if rumours are to be true, it's sort of like a battle of the managers that could be sacked first. Hughes v Claude Puel, and I don't see Southampton doing much this season. Like, I think, did you predict them to go down? I think I didn't. I think I had them just safe in, just being safe. But I don't like Mark Hughes as a manager.
No, correct.
I quite like Claude Puel as a manager. I think he does well with the resources he's given, but the board seem to not like him, and I don't know. It all seems a bit iffy. So I think that game, quite a lot hinges on that game from the perspective of fans and boards and momentum for sackings and things like that. So I'm quite interested to see what happens in that 3 o'clock kickoff. But yeah, it's interesting. I think that was a good little preview, to be honest, of what's coming up. Yeah, good.
Sounds like it's quite an enjoyable weekend of football and a bank holiday weekend in the UK.
It is, yeah, which I'll be back there for, which is great. I'll be in the UK for the bank holiday, which is very good. But we'll leave the first section there, so let's move on to the wiki files. Josh, it's your turn to send it to me, so if you can send it over, let's have a little looky look of what's going on here. Okay, so in front of me I have someone with a very short who the hell is this? A very short playing career in his senior career. He was at Everton from 2009 to 2012, but didn't make an appearance for them. Moved to Sampdoria in Italy and played 50 times in 2 seasons, scoring 1 goal. Then into Valencia for 2 seasons, 64 appearances and 6 goals. And he's still currently playing at Arsenal. 2016 until the present day. Is that right? You sounded like you were going to interject then.
No. I was gonna give you a hint I will give you a hint because this follows on from our discussion last week around was it not playing in your nation?
Yeah. He's
Republic
not
of Ireland link.
Yeah, so he's not. You thought he was English, and he didn't. Yeah, he didn't play. Stephen and didn't play in Ireland or Northern Ireland. And this guy, okay, so. I mean, starting at I can't see his youth career. That's really annoying. Starting at Everton would suggest you'd want me to think he's English, but he's still at Arsenal now. Is he still playing? He's in the Arsenal squad now.
Yeah, he plays. Yeah,
Okay,
gets hammered every now and then for his performances, but
who was at Everton? Who did Everton sign or sell to Sampdoria? Why wouldn't he? He wouldn't be good enough to play for Everton and then be good enough to play for Sampdoria. I mean, I'm thinking defender, because those goals are so low.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'm thinking probably a defensive fullback or a centre back. I'm leaning towards centre back because those stats probably match some sort of my stats of actual scoring goals. 1 in every 50, I'd be quite happy with. So I think Sampdoria to Valencia. I'm not going to get that link. Valencia to Arsenal. Can I have his international? No, yeah. Can I have his international stats, please?
You can
That's
have
what I would like
stats.
next.
This is going to really give it away now.
Is it? Oh, well, I haven't looked at it yet, but I think I know who it might be. With you, yeah. So he's represented Germany at all levels, and is still a German international, playing 20 appearances with 2 goals since 2014. Is it Mustafi?
It is Shokran Mustafi.
S. Mustafi.
Such a weird first name, isn't it? It's really hard to.
Shokradan.
Who knows? Mustafi.
Mustafi, yeah, it is Mustafi. Okay, that's interesting. He started his senior career at Everton.
So yeah, I was a little bit harsh here. I didn't give you the youth career because I thought, that's really going to. Because he has a bit of a Hamburg youth career, then an Everton youth career, then an Everton senior, a semi-Everton senior career, so it doesn't make appearance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just interesting for me because when I saw this, I was like, I don't remember him playing for Everton.
No, I don't remember him at Everton
2,
at all.
he's never played senior football in Germany.
That's true, very true. Didn't think about that.
So he's played England twice, Italy and Spain, and it's like that is quite unique, I thought,
that is,
especially for a high-level player. No, it seems like someone made some form of career in Germany. But yeah, so he just thought. I thought it was quite unique that that's his kind of career. I don't think many people, apart from maybe some Everton fans, would remember him
At
at
Everton.
Everton. I think he made like a European appearance in 09-10.
I mean, he's also, is that his current time at Arsenal? Is that going to be his longest spell at one club? No, 3 years, isn't
Yeah,
it?
so
Everton.
he's
Yeah. If he stays the whole season,
but,
if he stays the whole season, it'll be his longest playing part of his career at one club.
correct. Yeah.
Which is quite strange. Yeah. How old is he?
It's not too. 26.
Oh my god, he's had a hard
It's not
life.
many games, is it? I did a bit of analysis a while back. I haven't got it in front of me, but I was looking at players' ages versus their the amount of games played and seeing like how it develops into kind of later fatigue in life. So like, obviously we spoke about Fabregas earlier. He's somewhat peaked a bit earlier than you thought because he started so young, got so many games under his belt, and so I think the similar thing will happen with Lukaku and Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, true.
There's some players who have not played much.
Just before you go on to that, is Harry Kane in that list? A lot of football at a young age, relatively young age.
No, he had a fair few loan spells which didn't really play too consistently in his teens and his youth team play. So I think he's reasonably standard. Raheem Sterling is another one who's very much ahead of the curve. But players like Toby Alderweireld, because of some injuries and some times on the sidelines, like his spell as at Atletico Madrid, he's played I think like less games than Lukaku, and Lukaku's like 4 years younger or something. It's just quite interesting to see.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. It'll be interesting to see all your in one of the future podcasts when maybe in an international week or something we can come in with like stats that you've compiled and talk about them, and you can pick what your favourite interesting stats are, and we'll talk about them when no one likes international friendly week, do they? So we'll go for a stat based week that time. So a stat based podcast that time, but. Yeah, interesting. Right. Yeah, I like the idea of that. But so that's the end of the wiki files for this week. I managed to get it after getting his international career, which obviously really helped quite a lot in this case. And next week we'll be back for me to give you one, Josh, in terms of the wiki files, nothing sexual. But for now, we'll move on to the second part. Which have you got your sleeping bag ready, Josh? Your pillow? Got all of that ready?
Yeah, I'm just about to have a little doze. You crack on, Dave. Just going to turn your volume down and.
Okay. I mean, it's actually I actually wanted to talk about this because obviously I'm quite invested in Man United, clearly, as a fan, and I want to get an outsider's perspective from a Spurs fan, as funny as it is to see not just Spurs fans, like Spurs fans are probably thinking it's quite funny to see Man United implode as it appears they are.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think a lot of other clubs will have fans that will think it's quite hilarious as well with everything that's going on. But I just think it's the weirdest power struggle I've ever seen at any club, where you have like Pogba. Basically, I'm not saying Pogba is in for the power struggle, but him and his agent have a big say in what the club can and can't do. Obviously, he will have a big say. Then you got Ed Woodward, who, from a business point of view, is like probably one of the best things that can happen to the club from a business point of view. And the money he's made the club with deals and sponsorships and generally income in general is incredible. And then you got Mourinho, who the fans more and more getting on his back. He has a lot of power in the club because he's the manager. He's pissed off with Woodward. Woodward's pissed off with him. Mourinho's pissed off with Pogba. Pogba's pissed off with Mourinho. Pogba's probably pissed off with Woodward. Pogba's agent is pissed off with anybody. And it's like, it's so annoying to see it happen at the club, to see there isn't a united front. There isn't one figure that is best above all sort of making a decision to say this is what's happening. Woodward's trying to do that, but he's going about it in the wrong sort of direction, and it's culminating in this really annoying performance on the pitch where nobody really seems to care. Mourinho is being sort of negative. It's just so, I hate comparing teams to teams, but managers to managers when they're obviously so different. But you look at what's happening with City, Liverpool and Tottenham, and you look at how positive their managers are, and then you look at Mourinho and United, and you just think that's got to rub off on the players. Mourinho has spent the best part of the summer. We need a new centre back. We need a new centre back. We need a new centre back. The centre backs we haven't got aren't good enough. If we don't invest, we're going to struggle this season. All that. If that was me, I'd be like, well, the manager doesn't rate me as a player. The manager thinks I'm not going to be very good. The manager clearly wants to replace me, and then you see the mistakes being like made in the game against Brighton from Bailly and Lindelof, who were awful. I'm not trying to give them an excuse.
Who were also Mourinho signings for 30 plus million at centre back though.
Which is the other thing I was going to come on to, yeah. But they were awful. But they must be so low on confidence. I mean, Lindelof had a pretty decent World Cup. Let's not lie about it. You know, for Sweden, he was bringing the ball out of the back. He was passing it around quite well. He had a few brain farts like he always does, but he had a decent World Cup. And Eric Bailly last year was our best centre back. Before he got his injury, he was our best centre back. And like you say, like, why would Woodward go and sign off on a 75 million purchase for Harry Maguire or Toby Alderweireld when he can turn around and say, well, we gave you 65 million to go and buy two centre backs last year. You could have spent that on one if you wanted it, but you bought two. These were the two people that you really wanted, or when Mourinho signed them. Now go and coach them. Make them better. That's part of your job. It's part of your job to make people better, and part of your job to do this. And I'm ranting, but it's like, it's so annoying. And the worst thing about it is I literally have no idea who to side with. I don't want Mourinho as my manager. I don't really want Ed Woodward as the CO. Like do
you want Pogba as your centre midfielder?
Yeah, I do. I really want Pogba as my centre midfielder, but I don't want Pogba running the team. I want someone to come in and just allow Pogba to play like he does for France. I think Pogba could be a good captain in the future, and I think he does have the right sort of mentality. He came out in the press and said, he was thinking too much about himself in that game, but he needs that guidance from a manager that is positive. I can't imagine Mourinho's negative. Again, we don't know what it's like behind closed doors, but there's no smoke without fire. Something's going on with there. Mourinho's losing the dressing room. He's making the players low on confidence, and for what topped it off for me was when Pogba came out. I think it was after the Leicester game, and he was like, I can't say what I want to feel because I'll get fined. It's like, well, that's pointing a finger at Mourinho.
It's funny that it's gone. No one really is saying what they mean, because Mourinho, after the Brighton match, it said to the press, I can't criticise players anymore. You don't let me criticise players, so I can't say what I mean. It's like, is anyone saying what they want to mean? Like, it's a weird power struggle, but no one's actually even saying what they want to say.
Exactly. And then I think there hasn't been a shift yet, but there is a shift. Like, we're bringing in a director of football, but then no one really knows who's... The amount of names I've seen flown around as rumours of our director of football, and the process started like a month ago when we were looking for it. And like, you look at... we don't know the ins and outs of the workings of approaching for staff and transfers and things like that, and how long it should actually take. But when Everton went for their new director of football, as soon as Marco Silva was announced, they got the director of football in they pretty much wanted from Ajax, and he was, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he had this track record of buying things, and it was like discussed with Marco Silva what's going on. Now, if Ed Woodward doesn't have confidence in Mourinho to finish the job and do it properly, is Ed Woodward going to talk to Mourinho about director of football? Or is Ed Woodward just going to pick a director of football based on a CV and someone that's got a good track record of doing good business? And it's so confusing.
My experience, because I think Spurs were one of the first few clubs to, Premier League clubs, to go down the director of football route. And I think previously it was like David Pleat, but then we got like Frank Arneson in. Yeah. And my experience of when a director of football comes in and there's already a manager in place, that doesn't work. It normally then leads to a change of manager where everybody's on the same page. I
agree, and I think I think that's what's going to happen. I think a director of football will be brought in, and I think it will signal, it will tip Mourinho over the edge, and it will lose, and it will be a Chelsea after his second stint at Chelsea, where it'll all just literally crumble. The whole thing will crumble, and people will come out of it. Mourinho will come out of it in the way he always does. He'll come out and blame, I wasn't given the investment, I was always undermined by the CEO, blah, 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 blah. Woodward will say he didn't do the task that we asked him to do, and he produced negativity, and the players will probably come out and say, yeah, we needed a fresh change. But it's so frustrating. That game against Brighton, we were horrendous. There was no like linkage between defence to midfield to attack. and it was like, I mean, Pogba tried really hard. He didn't have the best of games, but you could tell he was trying to make something happen. Sometimes that gets the best of him, and he was doing roulette turns on the edge of his box and giving the ball away and then giving a foul away. But I mean, like we said, Eric Bailly and Victor Lindelof had a terrible game. I mean, to be outpaced by Glenn Murray is impressive. Just for all the wrong reasons, it's impressive.
Yeah.
And then, Lukaku looks isolated. Martial looks like he doesn't really care and doesn't want to play for Mourinho. Rashford comes on and looks...
Martial has always looked sulky, and Martial didn't find Lukaku with one pass in the first half. It's like, that is not what you want from your, as you said, the link between players.
But like I watched the game here in Singapore. I went to a pub and I actually went to the Man United Supporters Club. I think I mentioned it in the last podcast. And the atmosphere was good. It was a good group. It was a very nice atmosphere. It was very good. But I was the guy I actually went with, who introduced me to them. I was chatting to him, and I was like, what Mourinho's doing is he has a system that he plays, and he sticks by it, which is fair enough. Managers have principles. That's not a problem. It's defensively pragmatic, and it relies on midfield runners from late into the box, where you try and put crosses in around a big man and cause a little bit of havoc. And we're missing this Man United team, if that's how he wants us to play, is missing key players in the fact that John Terry was at Chelsea and was a standout defender for his whole time he was there, and when he came back, and was brilliant. He had a defender to build around. He had that defensive player, and then in front of him he had a good midfield, and he had Frank Lampard, who was that player that burst into the box late, had a good finish, could score, and I think he wants Pogba to do that role, but that's not Pogba's role. Then he had like Robben and Duff in his first era at Chelsea, and then I can't remember who he brought in. He had Hazard, didn't he, in his second stint as a winger that is like a magician. He's magical. He can go either way. He can keep defenders guessing, which again he probably wants Martial to be. And then he keeps shoving Juan Mata onto the right wing. Don't play him. If he doesn't fit your team, don't play him. I want to see Juan Mata behind the striker, but yeah.
United have far too many square pegs and round holes.
Massively, yeah.
You got so Valencia, former right winger, playing right back. You have Mata, attacking midfielder, playing on the wing. You have Ashley Young, former winger, playing left back. You have, I don't know, if you put Martial or Rashford truly wingers, you play someone who one playing on the left, playing on the right. It's like why you don't have the players for positions? It's a very odd situation for United to be in. The amount of money they haven't got orthodox players in the positions you want to play, especially as the manager's been there now in his third year.
Yeah, that's what makes it annoying for me, is that Mourinho, he can moan all he wants that he hasn't had backing this summer, but he's been backed previous summers, and they've gone out and bought people that are on his targets, his list, and he said in previous press conferences he was happy with what the board have done transfer wise. He'd always like a little bit more, but yeah, he's had time to build this squad, and I like I said earlier, I never really wanted Mourinho, but there was no one out there at the time who possibly could have done a better job. The only manager I can think of who's been unemployed for the whole period that Man United have had Mourinho as manager is Laurent Blanc, but he would have come straight from PSG, where he would pretty much, easy, wasn't it, for him at PSG, and he got sacked because he didn't do well in the Champions League. So, but he's still available. Zidane is still available. I think there's more pressure
Zidane's the one name where I'm thinking, hold on a minute, this could tie in together.
Yeah, now that's why I'm really intrigued with when they announce this director of football, who it's going to be. Because if it's someone that's
linked to Zidane,
if it's someone that's got a link to Zidane, it will happen, and Zidane will come in. Obviously, that's if Zidane wants the role. But it's it's just so frustrating. The whole game against Brighton, it was just like, all it looked like is, when I think I might have texted you this and said it looked like Arsenal last season.
Yes.
And I was like, there was no real leader, there was no battler, there was no effort. Everyone was just sort of plodding along, and eventually, it seemed like they were so complacent, Man United, in the sense that we'll score, and we've got David De Gea in goal, so we're fine. We're going to be fine. And then it was so. I've been privileged, obviously, the age I am and the team I've seen with Man United. I've been very, very privileged with the football, the trophies, Sir Alex Ferguson, the players I've seen play. But this is so far away from all of that stuff, in an era where so many other players and clubs are playing so well. I mean, it's not even just Liverpool, Tottenham. To an extent, Chelsea are still playing very good football under Sarri. Now he's in, and Spurs are doing well. Man City are doing really well. But like Wolves come up, Wolves, a promoted team, are playing better football than us. Fulham are playing technically better attacking football than us, and it's like, oh my god, it's so, like, as you can probably tell, depressing. It's so frustrating. That is the thing.
It's just, I used to enjoy. I mean, some of my favourite memories are Manchester United Champions League nights when I was younger, and it was on ITV, Dickinson and Andy Townsend, but it was that swashbuckling Man United that it was just like, wow, they are just absolutely on it. And honestly, I do not go out my way to watch any United match at the moment, because it's just like, not only is the football like completely just dire, it's just the mood around. There's no feel-good feeling around United at all, because Mourinho, I don't understand, Mourinho, do you actually enjoy anything about your job? You're so down. Like, when he was the special one, he had a little bit of kind of sass to him, a little bit of kind of a bit of life to him, and a little bit of enjoyment. And now it's like, oh, I'm just this, but I'm so depressed and so upset with it. It's like, come on, you're dragging me down. What are your players thinking? Do you go back into that dressing room and motivate them? I mean, we spoke earlier about the Man City documentary come out. If there was one for United, I think it would be like, oh my goodness, this is a kind of a real kind of hard-hitting drama.
Yeah, it'd be a horror show. It'd be a horror show. Yeah. It'd be a horror program. But it's like, like we say, we don't know what persona Mourinho gives off in the dressing room compared to what he gives off in public. Public, we know it's quite depressing and pragmatic and everything like that. He could be jolly-go-lucky in the changing rooms. I highly doubt it. But again, I think that comes back to the evolution that he hasn't. It's what's happening to Mourinho now is what happened to Wenger. Times have changed. Players need different coaching. They need different ways. Players are so aware of everything, and everyone's so aware of players nowadays with social media, that you can't. I don't think you can be a manager anymore where you have one persona to the media and then a different one in the changing room. I don't think you can do that, because the media will always be looking to pick up on something with a manager or a player to get a headline or a back page news story, or just something ridiculous. And the players are so, I don't know, mollycoddled for a word, or agent specific, protected. It's so easy for them to find out anything that's been said, that I don't think you can do that. And I think Mourinho's stuck in a bit of a time warp. And I think not only that, I think his tactics are outdated. I don't think he's moving with times. There used to be a time where I used to think he was one of the top managers in the world, and I think he's just come down from it now. And you look at it's night and day between him and Guardiola now. Guardiola has proved himself to be far superior to Mourinho, and it is just the I mean, the amount of goals that City score, the kind of attacking flair with it, even his kind of personality. But he's somewhat of a spy character too, Guardiola. He seems to have passion and drive and enthusiasm, which seems completely lacking from Mourinho. Yeah, totally agree. And while we're comparing Mourinho and Guardiola, I will say that Guardiola obviously wanted Alexis Sanchez, and he wanted him for the position to play in. Mourinho wanted him because it was Alexis Sanchez. And what's happened is that Man City, rather than going and chase, like, I'm not saying Riyad Mahrez isn't a big name, but they chased the player for a position. And I could never see Mourinho doing that. The whole Alexis Sanchez thing is just, that frustrated me straight from the off. We don't need him. We didn't need him. It's a stupid decision to bring him in.
Upset Martial, didn't it? And he's proved nothing so far.
Yeah, exactly. I think the whole, I don't know, it's a spiral of frustration and depression, and like I don't like to use the word depression, because obviously that's quite linked to mental illness and stuff like that, and I don't feel depressed in that sense, but football is like, it's what you use to get away from reality in a sense. Like, we love talking about it, we love watching it, I love playing it, I love playing it on my computer.
It's a form of escapism, isn't it? It's nice to invest yourself in it and have the enjoyment of it.
Yeah, and when the escapism becomes like too much like real life that you're trying to escape from. My life, I'm not saying my life's bad. My life is brilliant. I'm really enjoying my life at the moment. I'm in a great place in it. But I still use football to escape from it. football is like the one thing I have that cheers me up, and I can watch it and then go and chat it through with my wife, who doesn't care if it went well or good. She's just happy for me to chat to her about it. But like, yeah, and when it was, you know, I phoned her because obviously she's back in the UK at the moment, and I spoke to her after the game. Yeah, how was it? Well, we lost to Brighton. You lost to Brighton? What? And I was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, you sound really down. I was like, well, yeah, we lost to Brighton.
Was she like, brighten up, Dave?
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't phone you. But
so you've obviously had the Mino Raiola quotes recently around Paul Scholes, and he's turning. When he's put Paul Pogba in a pretty awkward position because he's put him up against one of your legends, of your all-time legends. It's like there's kind of, for me, there's how detached do you think Paul Pogba is from the Raiola quotes? Is my first question. Do you think he's like, yep,
I think
for it, tweet it, or he's like, oh, Raiola, what have you done?
I think he'll be more like, Raiola, what have you done? I honestly think he'll be, Raiola, what have you done? Because Pogba's come out and said previously, not recently, but previously, that when he was at the youth academy, Paul Scholes was his idol. So I think Paul Pogba is going to say, has been to like Raiola and being like, what are you doing? Because this is interesting, because Lukaku used to be, his agent used to be Raiola, and then when he moved to United, Lukaku moved to United and then left Raiola when he started saying some stuff because people were getting on his back.
Jay-Z's agency or something.
Jay-Z's Rock Sport Entertainment, or whatever it is. So it wouldn't surprise me if Paul Pogba leaves Raiola as an agent and gets another super agent, maybe George Mendes or something. But I mean, it's a tough one. I don't think Paul Pogba was aware or would have been happy with that tweet going out. So that's my answer to that question.
Because ultimately the agent works for the player. And so I feel that there's something more sinister at play here. That I think that Pogba is angling for one of two things. He's either wanting to force the issue and get Mourinho sacked, or he's wanting to force the issue and he's basically forcing United's hands. Do they sack the manager and Pogba gets it good, or do they sell Pogba and therefore back the manager? And I think that
I agree. I just think it's a case of, if it was against the manager, why would Raiola tweet about Scholes? I know Scholes said some potentially deflammatory things about Pogba. I think Scholes is saying it as it is. He wasn't a leader on the day. But you'd think that Raiola would use those comments to then have a go at Mourinho, not have a go at Paul Scholes. That's how I see it. Anyway.
Yeah, I think just brewing tension and brewing that kind of, keeping this kind of power struggle and disdain kind of ongoing is kind of adding to people up at the top of United's hierarchy, keeping it in the forefront of their minds. And speaking of that, the Glazers very rarely get mentioned anymore at United, do they?
It's because they brought in Ed Woodward. And he's now the face. He's not even the face of the Glazers. He's done exactly what they brought him in to do, which was let them just basically get the money. They still go to the games. They still occasionally go to the games, or the younger sons do. But they took over. Obviously, they got with the debt that they in and the whole Heath, whatever it was, the green and yellow scarves and stuff. Came up. And that all came about, and then they realised that I don't think they're ever going to get win a popularity vote from the Old Trafford faithful. So they brought in Ed Woodward, who was this, the first couple of seasons Ed Woodward was there, he was great for the club because he got revenue up, and we were struggling after Fergie, and he made sure we maintained our spot at the top of the table in financial terms, and that really helped, and it took the pressure off the Glazers and people sort of forgot they were there. Like you just said, you don't see much of him very more. And Ed Woodward has done that really well, but he's being found out in a footballing negotiation sort of. I mean, the whole Fellaini saga sums up Ed Woodward. Like, great businessman, but when it comes to trying to negotiate a deal, completely cocked it up in football. Completely cocked it up.
Okay.
But I mean, do you know what happened with that? The Fellaini thing?
No, I was going to ask, is it contract renewal?
No, about when we actually bought him from Everton, when he had a release clause, which was something like 7 million lower than what we paid, but it expired like a week before the deadline day, and then we bought him on deadline day for 7 million more than we had to. Because Ed Woodward didn't want to pay the release fee, and then we hadn't signed anyone, and he panicked and agreed to sign him for 7 million more than we had to when we bought him, and it was like ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. For someone that's so good at off the pitch deals, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, you're strangely positive about Edward, because I hadn't really heard a United fan be that positive about him. But
No,
you're speaking about financially how he's been quite positive, and it's an issue that I don't know. Some fans care about, some fans don't. It's like I often think like when fans talk about like transfers and go, oh yeah, but we haven't got the money. It's like, why do you care about the money? Well, what's it matter to you? Just that'll take care of itself, and you're not going to end up like a Leeds or anything like that. So just let him go.
Well, I'm positive about Ed Woodward because he's actually kept us, like I said, at the top of the financial table in a time where we haven't actually done very much. Like on the pitch, we haven't actually been challenging for the Champions League. We didn't qualify for it for a year. And he's kept all these sponsorship. He's kept the ability for the club to be the market name that it is, which is very, very impressive. And I respect that as a man that works in a big company. I respect what it takes to be able to do that. But I'm not positive when it comes to negotiations, which is why I don't mind him staying at the club as a CEO if they bring in a director of football who overrides him when it comes to transfers, and if the director of football gives him like I was going to say like a letter or an email, but it will be a fax when it's football, so it will still be done by fax. Yeah, if the director of football sends him a fax and says, we're getting this player, you need to sign a cheque for this much money, Edward would just be like, yeah, right, I trust you, I employed you, here's the money to go and make it happen, and then he can go off and chat to Adidas and Nike and Umbro and get them arguing over who should be Man United's kit maker and how much money Man United will get for it and things like that. And I think I'm very positive in Ed Woodward when it comes to non-football stuff, and for the club he is obviously doing a good deal, but there comes a time when, like you say, fans don't really care about that. I'd much rather my team be winning the Champions League than us having a new sponsorship from Adidas for £74 million a year or whatever it is. But
yeah,
that it's, we've said this so many times on the podcast, it's not what it used to be. It's a business. You have to see it as a business. And if you're not doing well as a club, you have to do well on the financial side. Otherwise, it will become a Leeds. It will definitely become a Leeds. If you're not doing well in football and you're not doing well financially, you'll be Leeds 2003 or whatever it was all over again. And it's so I'm positive in certain senses with Ed Woodward. I'm not really positive at all about Mourinho. I'm interested. I'm staying curious, I guess, is a way to describe it, about the director of football situation. See what comes of it. But I literally have been ranting and getting things off my chest for probably around about half an hour. So from the outside, very quickly, because we are running out of time, but from the outside, what does it look like from a Spurs fan looking at Man United?
It's quite nice to see. In brutally honest, it does look like it's a mess. It looks like there's no enjoyment from anyone. Fans don't enjoy it. Players don't seem to enjoy it. Managers don't seem to enjoy it. There's kind of this unease around who's actually leading the show. You've obviously got all the main players we spoke about. It seems like you're kind of a little bit lost, really, and I think there's going to be some upheaval this season because of it. I think the fact that the media have latched onto it doesn't help as well, because obviously we have Mourinho's third season, which is adding pressure to it. And in reality, Mourinho's third season doesn't always end. It sometimes there's silverware, sometimes there's win. So it's only the last few years that he's actually been that third season atrocity. But I would be very intrigued. I'm intrigued to see, say, end of January, after we've had a transfer with what it looks like. Who is managing?
Wow.
Where is Pogba? And who is their director of football?
That is very interesting to say, because that's obviously things that I'm interested in, and it links in nicely to the Twitter poll that I put out, because obviously we're now having a weekly poll, which seems to be going down quite well with the listeners and stuff. So the poll was, will Mourinho make it till Christmas? And 65% of people said not a chance. The two options were not a chance or of course he will, and 65% of votes was not a chance, 35% saying he will make it till Christmas. And I think, Twitter is a wonderful thing. You don't know who's voted. You don't know who's voted, who they support, what they do. It doesn't give you an option to see who had a vote. But did you vote? Did you vote in it? Obviously. Yeah. What was your? Which way did you?
No, I don't think he'll be there.
No, I also voted no. I don't think he'll be there. I think it's gone beyond repair. The only way I can see him doing it is if we're top at Christmas. That's the only way I can see him staying. If somehow he turns it around
happening.
and we're top of Christmas. Of course it's not happening. Of course it's not. But yeah, so it's very frustrating. It'd be interesting to get comments from people below. Obviously, I'm a Man United fan, but it'd be interesting to hear other Man United fans or other fans of other clubs. Like Josh said, it's quite good to see it from a outside of a Man United's perspective from a fan. It's quite interesting and good and funny to see the misery and the fact that there isn't a direction with everyone pulling in the same direction. Another question, very quickly before we finish this, and this sums up the Mourinho and Ed Woodward situation, is that a question that was posted to me by one of my friends who's a Man United supporter was, if you're given the choice, would you rather have Sir Alex Ferguson back or David Gill? Now, obviously I said Sir Alex Ferguson, but I think that is underestimating what David Gill did for the club. Because he was a businessman, and he was very good at football negotiations for players and stuff like that. He was, yeah.
Or is it, how much of that do you think, so his tenure is propped up by Sir Alex Ferguson's greatness as well? Right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we'll leave it there. Please do leave comments and stuff down below on the YouTube video, or you can leave them down below on SoundCloud if that's how you're listening as well. There's now an option that you can do it if you're listening on your mobile as well. SoundCloud have introduced a new thing that you can leave a comment below the video, and we do check every single comment, and we will reply to every comment that we get, which is great. So we'll leave that there, if you're happy to leave that there, Josh, because we are running out of time.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's move on to Josh's fact of the day. We've already had one. Let's have another.
So this is... I don't know how I really came across this, to be honest with you. Do you remember the player Jonathan Biabiani?
The name rings a bell. Did he go to...
Yeah.
Did he play in Spain at some point?
Well, I don't think he did, actually. No,
okay.
So I first remember him Spurs' Champions League debut, and we played Inter Milan, and he played up front. I think it was him, Coutinho and Eto'o played up front for Inter in the match where Gareth Bale got a hat-trick, and it felt like a win for Spurs. But yeah, he was an absolute speed merchant, and this is just a fact around the permanent transfers throughout his career. All right, you ready for it?
Yeah.
So he started at Inter, and then his next permanent transfer was to Parma.
Right.
He then played 16 games there, and then his next permanent transfer was to Inter, where he played 14 games. He then transferred to Sampdoria, then to Parma. Then he transferred to Inter, then he transferred to Parma. So
are these? Oh, and they're all permanent deals, not loans.
They're all permanent deals. I mean, it's somewhat linked to the kind of co-ownership element that Italy had, but basically, his permanent transfers goes Inter, Parma, Sampdoria, Parma, Inter, Parma. It's like, just pick a club, mate. You just flip-flapping between Inter and Parma.
Because I'm even thinking, like, geographically, they're not that close. Like, so he's got a good business out of a moving van, hasn't he? Some moving company's got. Yeah. You're going back to Parma? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll pick you up. Yeah. We'll come and get. We know where you are. Don't worry. We know where you are.
The usual. Yeah, the usual. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Do you reckon he bought a return ticket for a moving van?
Yeah. Actually, linked to that, I was about to say he only like rented or stayed in hotels. Apparently, Mourinho lives in a hotel.
He does. He still lives in a hotel. Yeah.
That is not a good sign.
His family house is still in London from when he worked for Chelsea, and he's still living in a hotel. Yeah, and the
quote was that he doesn't like cleaning up after himself, which is somewhat ironic because he will be leaving a mess at Man United, won't
he? Yes, he will. Thanks for that, Josh. Yeah. Oh, fucking hell. But I mean, it's. Yeah, let's not go back into it. We've covered it enough. We've covered that enough in today's episode. But that's an interesting. I like that with the Biabiani fact. Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's good moves. Anyway, interesting moves. Not necessarily good. He obviously couldn't.
No, I think he's a player of failed potential. I think the amount of pace he had, you kind of hope for a player who's going to have the end product. It's like Adama Traore.
Yeah.
Adama Traore, obviously signed by Wolves, has like by far and away the best, like the most dribbles per game of anyone in Europe. It's just absurd. But I think he had a better dribble success rate last season than he did have a pass completion rate.
That is impressive. That is very, very impressive.
In my head, it's something like, he completed like 75% of dribbles, but completed like 70% of passes. He's better to run the ball to the player than pass it to him.
That is ridiculous. That is utterly ridiculous. But oh well. Okay. Is that 3 stats in a day?
Oh God!
That could be
too generous.
You are far too generous. But okay, well we'll leave it there. We'll say our farewells. But before that, obviously, we're going to plug all of our new social media outlets again. So on SoundCloud, you can find us. There will be a link in the description below again. You go onto SoundCloud, you search for Football Space Talk, and if you scroll down a little bit, we'll be there. We're the one with the big green speech bubble that says Football Talk by Dave Nichols and Josh Cool. And Josh, do you want to do the Twitter honours?
Yeah, so at Football Talk, but remember, there's no A in football.
Oh, I love that slogan. There is no A in football. But thank you very much for listening, everybody. Thank you very much. Please leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. There'll be plenty more Football Talk stuff. Follow us on SoundCloud as well. But for now, we're going to be saying our goodbyes. So, Josh?
Goodbye and enjoy the weekend of football.
Yeah, goodbye, everyone, and have a good bank holiday if you're in the UK. For now, we're out. Cheers.